Stay frosty and head over to EasyMut.com for the cheapest MUT coins on the market. And when I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around $40. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Action! Hey, what's going on, Bolt fam? Good afternoon and salutations. The Chargers have just cleared some cap space. Hopefully we get the chat coming up here in just a second. How's everybody doing today? Happy Friday, Bolt fam. Oh, we've got some news. We've got some sweet news to go over the Chargers. Now, it does suck for Trai Turner, and in terms of news, I'm saying we got something to talk about. And it's always nice to get excited in the offseason. Chargers building that pool of cap space, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Let's get some shout-outs here on the live stream to start things off. We got Bolt Up Jim. What's going on, man? We got Jay Beast, Zach Sesto, Brandon Burt, the Raging Bolts. How's everybody doing today? Zippy Sweaty, Diego Mencias, Aaron Adams, Carlos Chargers, Angel, Stevie Echeverria. Good to see everybody today, man. Big moves by the Chargers. Now, this is one that certainly everybody here saw coming, right? I mean, not to toot my own horn, but we've been blurting this move since like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Like the Chargers, if they cut one person this offseason, it's probably going to be Trai Turner. Let's take a look here at the Twitter sphere, guys. We've released Trai. As a matter of fact, I haven't even taken a look at this article here yet. Let's do that together, yeah? Let's do that together. Good to see everybody in the chat. Everybody's excited. We finally have something to talk about. Let's go ahead and kind of go over this together. The Los Angeles Chargers release Malik Jefferson. So 2 released players today, and Trai Turner. Los Angeles Chargers today announced a pair of roster moves, releasing linebacker Malik Jefferson and guard Trai Turner. I wonder how much Malik Jefferson's going to save us. Jefferson totaled 5 special team tackles. He was okay. He wasn't terrible, but definitely something there. Actually, let's go over to Spot Rack here real quick. I kind of wanted to figure out. I already have a lot of this stuff ready for you guys. I want to see how much Malik Jefferson saves us too. So let's go Malik Jefferson. See how much the Chargers are going to be saving with this move here too. As a matter of fact, hang on. Malik Jefferson. Come on. There we go. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Malik Jefferson. I think it's under transactions right now, too. Transactions. The Chargers, they're not going to give us a dollar amount here. Maybe if we go back to contract details. It's probably not going to be a lot. He was more of like a special teams guy. $75,000. $750,000, I should say. From last season. So we can say maybe like $500,000. We don't know what the actual savings would be this season, but there we go. Williams unfollowed the Chargers on Insta. Jason, that's a good thing to point out. And there's one thing I will say. My guys at the Guilty as Charged podcast, Alex and Steven and those guys and Tyler, they said that Mike Williams was actually never following the Chargers to begin with. Weird, right? Isn't that strange? You would think that the team that drafted you and all that stuff, you would want to follow on Instagram, but maybe he had the foresight, like if something like this happened, he didn't want to give it too many hints. But that's what I'm hearing. Nothing confirmed, but that's what the guys at Guilty as Charged told me. Chargers are so excited to play with me. I'll help you with the game, and nice, man. Right time to work our own line. Yeah, it's the time, man. Right now, there's so many things happening in the league as far as moves and cuts, especially with the offensive line. We kind of went over that in my video yesterday, or was it the day before? I think it was yesterday. And today I kind of wanted to get on here and kind of give you guys an update of what the Chargers cap space situation is going to be looking like with the cut of Trai Turner and Malik Jefferson, and then kind of point out a couple of guys that we can start targeting. We've done this a couple of times through the videos the last few days, but it'll be kind of fun to see you guys in the chat kind of help guide the sort of players that the Chargers fan base is looking for. So your guys' presence here is very important in this live stream. Did you see the Gurley rumors? Yes, I saw that too. So I have to assume the Gurley rumors were started by NFL Rooms, at NFL Rooms on Twitter, right? That account hits sometimes, but for the most part, I don't take it too seriously. But in this case, I could see it happening. because of the interview that we saw with Tom Telesco like a week ago, right? He said that one of his biggest frustrations this season was not scoring from the halfback position. And although I don't love Todd Gurley, I would never utilize him as like our number one running back. He did one thing well for the past couple seasons, and that was scoring from the red zone. So I could see that happening. I do think there's cheaper options, but as far as like a bigger signing that gives us more immediate help where we actually do need it, I can see Todd Gurley. Director Deontay Brown would be a good replacement for Turner. He would be. I love Deontay Brown. Some people are concerned about his agility. He's not very much of an agile blocker, but dude's like a huge apartment building there in the center of the line, right? And when you've got a tall quarterback like Justin Herbert, there's so many great qualities of Justin Herbert that are advantageous for the Chargers. When you've got a 6 foot six quarterback in Justin Herbert, having those bigger offensive linemen, not a huge deal, man. He's going to be able to see over everything like a crowd at a concert and still throw those dimes. Director, seeing that our cap is sitting about 41. Yeah, I'm going to get into that in just a second. As a matter of fact, that's a good segue. I like that. Thank you, man. Let's go into the Chargers cap space now. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and refresh this page. The last I saw, they hadn't accounted for Trai Turner, which I don't think they will yet either, because I don't know if it's officially been... there it is. Actually, there it is. You guys can see right there. $41.49 million. Can I get a bolt up in the chat? Lightning bolts in the chat. The Chargers have some money to play with. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and grab... Let's see, the Malik Jefferson page here. I'm going to go see what the cap situation looks like for all teams. Can I do that? I should be able to do that. Salary caps, team salary caps. Yes, right here. Ha, ha, ha. Chargers have money to work with. Very, very exciting going into this particular offseason, which we'll talk about again here in a second. So the Chargers, as expected, with the release of Trai Turner, jumped all the way from, I think it was like 12 or something like that, 11, all the way up to number 6 in the league as far as cap space. Now, of course, you got other teams like the Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, New England Patriots, who certainly have a lot more. The Patriots and the Jags almost double our cap space, but I don't know if we're done. I don't know if we're done, Chargers fans. I think the Chargers still have some cuts coming. There's been a lot of speculation that it's going to be a surprising season as far as cuts for the Chargers, specifically in this fan base. We're going to go over some of those as well. Some players that me personally, I really would hate to see leave. But in a situation that the Chargers are in right now, brand new head coach, a lot of players are going to be signed for cheap due to the lack of funds in the entirety of the league. A lot of teams like the Saints. Let's go check in on the good old Saints down here. They're going to be all the way at number 32. No, the Rams. The Rams have overtaken them. Okay, so moves have been made. The Saints, now at $10 million under the cap. How many people have they had to release, though, right? Was Jackrabbit, Janoris Jenkins, the latest victim of that yesterday? Philadelphia Eagles at -16. Bears at -23. Rams -$32 million. Oh. Is there anybody from the Rams that you guys want to trade for? Like, there's a lot of great free agents I can see the Chargers going after. John Johnson, Leonard Floyd, maybe even an Austin Blythe. Is there anybody you guys want to trade for? It has to make sense for them financially, though. So before we all go crazy about Jalen Ramsey, I think he has so much guaranteed money it wouldn't be worth trading, but I don't know. I know the whole chat's saying Jalen Ramsey, and that's who I want desperately, too, to go play with Derwin James. But as far as I can remember, Jalen Ramsey's guarantees and stuff like that don't make a lot of sense for them trading him at this point. It makes it really difficult to get away with that trade. At that point, the Chargers would need to incentivize the Rams with like some really nice draft capital. So that's kind of where we're at right now. $15 holla coming in from Theory. Would Tooney and Lindsley be the perfect free agent pickup scenario to build from? I like that. As a matter of fact, let's go take a look at some of these free agents. Dude, Theory, thank you so much for the $15 holla. Now, first off, the Chargers, we already kind of went over this. $41.14 million. Actually, go back here, this page. Boom. $41.49 million. So we have a lot of money to work with. Top 6 in the NFL. So let's get to work. Trai Turner, we already saw it here. Saved $11.28 million. Let's take a look at Theory's first guy. Tooney. Joe Tooney. How much is Joe Tooney going to cost? How much is he going to go against the cap? Here he is. Joe Tooney. Market value. We can get that loaded there. $15.3 million annually. Now, if you think about it this way, right? You think about it this way. The Chargers just saved $11.2 something million, right? You're talking about like a, $4 million like cost, like the offset cost $4 million to get Joe Thuney instead. Now, I'm going to tell you guys this, specifically U Theory. I haven't been super optimistic about the chances that the Chargers get Joe Thuney because, let's be honest, the Patriots are a top 2 team as far as cap space, right? Here they are right here at number 2 with $70 million. If I was the New England Patriots, no way does Joe Thuney leave my building. There's no way that if I'm the Patriots that we don't extend Joe Thuney. But here we are. I read an article a couple of days ago that the Patriots don't expect, I think it was as far as the franchise tag, they weren't going to franchise tag him, and they were likely going to let him go. Okay? So now we see a team like the Chargers who just got rid of our guard. Of course, he plays left guard. I do think he could play right guard as well. That could be a big one. I do see the Chargers as contenders for that. I've seen a lot of articles about the Chargers making big moves this season, and Joe Thuney is part of that. And as far as Linz is concerned, Theory, you know where I stand on that. I still think, if we go over here real quick and then we'll read Leo's. Guys, thank you so much for the super chats. Corey Lindsley. We go over here real quick. Take a look at Corey Lindsley value. I do think that Spot Racks is a little bit low as far as Corey Lindsley, but I do think it's not too far off. I'm going to say $9.7 million. I would estimate him between 10 and 11. So they're really not too far off. We're talking like $3 million more over the next 3 years. So that's really not a big deal. Corey Lindsley's still my number 1. Corey Lindsley is still my number 1. So if we get Corey Lindsley and the Chargers looking really good as far as cap space, let's go after Thuney as well. Really reinforce that line and grab a tackle in the draft. Talk about a drastic transformation over one offseason at the position that's been the worst for the Chargers. Tom Telesco loves doing that, going from worst to first in those weaknesses, making those weaknesses strengths. Thank you again, Theory, for the $15 holla. Leo Ramos says, I know we're talking about cap space, but in the event we don't re-sign Mike Williams, TJ Vosher out of Texas Tech might be a good replacement. I'm going to put him on my list, man. I wish with all my heart that I could show you guys footage. I could show you guys tape. And we could all go out there and watch together and I can get like a reaction with you guys. But last time, you guys remember the last live stream we did? We got slapped with that flag. So I'm going to put him on my list, man. Thank you. We are going to talk about Mike Williams and the potential of him getting either cut or re-signed. I got a little document down here showing the potential savings for the Chargers. We'll go over that again. But Leo, thank you so much for the $10 holla. Aaron Adams says, what's your prime draft picks for us? Prime draft picks as far as like names at 13? If I'm going to name them like highest priority to like, and also all these names are likely to be there at 13, okay? Or at least some chance of them being at 13. Number 1 is Kyle Pitts. The only guy I'm taking over some of these offensive linemen. Kyle Pitts, just a freak of nature talent. Number 2 is Rashawn Slater. I take Rashawn Slater over even some really nice skill position guys at the cornerback and wide receiver position. Then 3, I think I'm still taking... No, at 3, I'm going to take Jaylen Waddle. At 4, Christian Darrisaw. At 5, Elijah Vera Tucker. I think in that order. Is what I'm looking at. And honestly, considering how much talent there is in the top 15 for the NFL draft this season, it's going to be very tough for the Chargers to blow this. If we reach for a guy, then maybe like a Joe Horn. I still like Joe Horn a lot, but if a guy like Caleb Farley's there, I'd be like, what are you guys doing? But it's going to be really tough for the Chargers to lose this one. Brandon Burt with the $10 holla. Thank you guys so much coming in clutch today. Having some fun. The first news we've had for Chargers football officially in a minute. Probably since the hiring of Brandon Staley, right? So we're all here very excited to see what the possibilities are for the future. Let's read some of these comments here. Bolt Up Jim says Mike Williams is on the team in 2021. $15 million against the cap. That's a great segue there, man. Let me actually go pull up Mike Williams' contract here. Let's talk a little bit about Mike Williams, okay? So the first thing I want to kind of clarify with you guys, at this point in time, the Chargers have $41.4 million after releasing Trai Turner. We're off to a pretty good start. Top 6 cap space in the league. there are other cuts that we could make. Now, Mike Williams is a little bit lower on my list, but since we had somebody else with the super chat bring him up as well, let's actually start with Mike Williams here as far as what we could do. Now, there's a few things that could go down. The first thing is the Chargers, in order to make any moves, are going to have to rescind his fifth-year option. I think I was watching a interview with Daniel Popper the other day saying that the Chargers are very unlikely to do that. It's very uncharacteristic for any team to rescind a fifth-year option because that kind of gives them a window to do something. You know, they could sign somewhere else. They're officially a restricted free agent, right? But if the Chargers go in saying, hey, we have an offer, if we rescind the fifth-year option, would you be willing to take like an $8 million a year contract, an $8 million annually? Is that where you guys feel comfortable? Maybe 10, I think, is more like, I think somewhere between $8 and $10 million is his value. I think 15 is just way, way too much. So the first thing we could do is rescind the offer and give him a long-term contract, maybe with the guarantees kind of floating along like games played or whatever. So if he has like an injury problem or something like that, maybe low commitment, we can have an out in like 2022, 2023, so that if it really doesn't pan out, we can give ourselves an exit. But that immediately, let's say we get him for $9 million. We'll split the difference, $9 million. That's already going to save $6 million towards the cap. That's pretty good. That's pretty incredible. Now, the Chargers could also elect to trade him or cut him straight up, and that would be a savings of about $15 million. This is where things get a little, like, sticky with Mike Williams for me. I want Mike Williams on this team. I want him to stay with the Chargers. I love Mike Williams. When he's healthy, he's one of the most dangerous vertical threats in the league as far as possession. Those 50-50 balls, who does it better than Mike Williams? Very few players do. I know Mike Williams has a lot of other problems in different areas, but when it comes to spectacular catch, you know, bodying out his defender, who else is there, right? I want him to stay on the team, but not for $15 million this season. I think this is a very important season to free up some cap space. If I'm the Chargers, I do something. I try to keep him on the team if at all possible, but you got to do something. I don't know if this is an appropriate amount of money allotted to the receiver position that maybe sees a lot of injuries, maybe more situational, those 50-50 balls, fades in the end zones, stuff like that, mismatches. I don't know. But I like that. Thank you guys for bringing that up. Let's see, which super chat was that? Leo, thank you, and all the comments to follow. Have you checked out yesterday's Chargers podcast? Discussion was all offensive linemen with some big surprises. I haven't had time to listen to a bunch of podcasts the last week or so. I've been setting up some things at the home front to help the quality of life for me as far as content creation. But we're just about through that tunnel. We're almost there. The Raging Bolt says, since we have Joe Lombardi, do we have a better chance at drafting Kyle Pitts so that we utilize him to be the next superstar like Calvin Johnson? Now, how much Joe Lombardi has to do with that, I don't know. I think at this point, if you're an NFL scout and you're looking at all the talent in the top 10 and you see Kyle Pitts there, no matter what team you're coming from, if you're an OC, if you're a water boy, you can tell that this guy's going to be special. Kyle Pitts is going to be something else, guys, I tell you. And there's some mocks I'm seeing recently, which at first I'm like, yo, what are you doing? I think it's number 2. Right, it's the Jets. They take Kyle Pitts in some of these mock drafts. I'm like, dudes, get a quarterback. I still think that's the move for the Jets on record. I think they need to move on from Sam Darnold. But the fact that he was picked in the top 2 doesn't surprise me because that's the kind of talent he is. I think he's a top 5 talent. I mean, dude's within the top 5, right? He just looks freakishly good. The only way I see the Chargers as like a 25% chance of landing Kyle Pitts. 1 in 4. And that's strictly because of how much quarterback talent there is in the top 10. I legitimately think 4 quarterbacks are going in the top 10, which is going to push a lot of that nice talent down to the Chargers number 13. If 5 quarterbacks go in the top 10, top 12, just before us, which is completely possible with the San Francisco 49ers at 12, they could take Mac Jones and somebody falls to us. In that situation, maybe Kyle Pitts falls to us. But again, I think everybody sees what we see, man. Kyle Pitts is going to be something else. Director, how old are you? Random question. I am approaching the last of the party years in my 20s. I'm 28 at the time. Corey Lindsley, Dylan Raduns, Deontay Brown would be a great offensive line. I want the 13th pick for Waddle or Pitts. Yeah. This is where Chargers fans are kind of split, right? Some Chargers fans, I would almost see it as like a symbolic gesture in some ways, too. If the Chargers take offensive linemen with their first-round pick, we are committed to protecting Justin Herbert, right? And then there's other Chargers fans who are like, well, I mean, what if Kyle Pitts is there? What if Jaylen Waddle's there? What's the move? For me, I'm a very stubborn best player available. And there are offensive linemen that could be available at 13 that's still best player available to me. Like, the intrigue of Jaylen Waddle. I would have loved Jaylen Waddle on this team, man. I see more likely him being there than Kyle Pitts. But if Jaylen Waddle and Rashawn Slater are there, I have to follow my mantra. As much as I want Jaylen Waddle, the big play potential from him, I still see Rashawn Slater as best player available, so that's who I would take. Now, if the script was flipped a little bit, let's say Rashawn Slater gets picked up in the top 10, right? Which, with the way people are talking about, you know, the scoutings and everybody's saying that he is closer to Penei Sewell than everybody thinks. What if Rashawn Slater's gone? What if at the 13 spot, the Chargers are looking at Micah Parsons, Jaylen Waddle, and Christian Darrisaw? That's where I'm like, what do we do? Because we can't overlook Micah Parsons, guys. He would fit this team so well. He's a freak of nature. I think the only reason people are worried about him is because of the character issue, which has been resolved since then. I don't know if you guys read that article or even saw it in some of the news posts. That issue and the person the issue was with was resolved in a way where it seemed like it could have been on terms of a misunderstanding, but at the same time, it's just been resolved. Okay, the guy that he was hazing, I think was the big thing, came out and defended Micah Parsons' character. So we can't overlook Micah Parsons and the impact he could have on this team. But then you got Jaylen Waddle and Christian Darrisaw. Do you pass up on the potential of Parsons and Waddle for Darrisaw? If it happened, I wouldn't be upset. I'd be like, we have a left tackle. Let's go. But if I'm GM of the Chargers, I'm looking at Waddle and saying, with Justin Herbert, is there no reason Waddle couldn't be close to what Tyreek Hill is with the Kansas City Chiefs? I think I'm going to take that upside, right? But again, it's so hard to lose at 13. It's so hard to miss on that pick that if we pass on Jaylen Waddle to get Christian Darrisaw, I understand. I get it. I support it. But if I was in charge, I would take best player available, which at that point to me would be Jaylen Waddle. Director, you said this draft is going to be different from the ones that we've seen in a long time. I honestly would not be surprised to see Kyle Pitts at 13. Raptor, you're completely right. Again, there's X factors all over the 2021 season, right? Pandemic from last season, the salary cap issue. There's so many quarterbacks that could be taken in the top 10. If there was a year that we should, like, you know, write anything could happen on our foreheads and march through the streets, it's this season. Anything could happen in 2021, guys. There's so many factors that make this season different than other seasons. Pretty cool. Thanks, Kit Fisto. Fabian Sierra says, Njoku. I love Hunter Henry, but are they both injury prone? If I had to choose, I would like to have Njoku over Hunter Henry if they both stay healthy. Thoughts? Let me get something up on the board here for you guys. I mean, you guys have seen this already. Let me go ahead and grab it. If you guys are following me on Twitter, you guys have already seen this. Okay? I photoshopped this yesterday. David Njoku in the alternate Navy unis like I'm wearing right now. I had to switch the 85 to 87 because everybody got pissed. Generally, as a rule, when I'm doing jersey swaps, I don't change the number because it helps the viewer make a visual connection to where they're moving and who the player is. Anyway, that's besides the point. I put 87 on Njoku so that we didn't offend, you know, Gates' career and all that stuff. But I photoshopped this for a reason, you know? I was sitting on my computer and I was reading some stuff about Njoku. I've been pushing the narrative of Njoku. I was like, I want to see what this would look like just to get kind of some support behind it, at least support behind the thought of it, behind the idea of Njoku. And the more that I think about it, the more I like it. There are some injury concerns, but there are with Hunter Henry as well. Hunter Henry's super expensive. And Njoku, if the Chargers traded for him, which at this point, guys, seeing that he's on the last year of his contract, the 5th-year option. He's got some injury problems. They didn't really utilize him in Cleveland. There's no reason we couldn't get this guy with our first 6th-round pick. When I say first, the Chargers have 2 6th-round picks. That's where I see the trade. Like, if we're talking cheap trade, I honestly think that could happen. Would you guys be okay trading a 6th-round pick for 1 year of David Njoku with the potential of signing him and extending him to future Charger seasons? I would. David Njoku, criminally underutilized by the Cleveland Browns since he was drafted. Maybe 1 or 2 good seasons, but then they go off and they get Austin Hooper, they get Harrison Bryant. The untapped potential of David Njoku is very intriguing. Very low risk for the Chargers. Saves a buttload of money if we're indeed moving on from Hunter Henry. Hey, if we get Kyle Pitts, if Kyle Pitts falls to us at 13, still take him. We can, ride with him and Njoku for the 2021 season. And then David Njoku, we could trade him before week 8 if we have to. We can not extend him next season because now it's the Kyle Pitts show. What David Njoku does is offer a lot of upside with a lot of low risk, okay? Maybe he gets injured. That sucks, but we're not out a ton of money, not Hunter Henry money. Maybe he has a huge upside, like his potential and his career or his chemistry with Justin Herbert is huge, and he develops a strong connection with him. Don't be fooled. There's a chance that David Njoku, as far as a vertical weapon, could pan out better than Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's a much better blocker, but as far as a weapon for Justin Herbert, I could see Njoku possibly being better. So that potential gets me excited. Thank you for the hollow, my man. Brandon Burt. If we cut Casey Hayward, trade for Lattimore, and grab Tyson Campbell in the draft on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you like that? I'm all about getting Lattimore in the building. I really love the thought of Brandon Staley having a top 5 cornerback in the league. I think he did a phenomenal job with Jalen Ramsey. And if we had Lattimore, and then let's say, we do go grab a Tyson Campbell in the draft, watch out. I would hope that the Chargers have a pass rush that could match that. Leonard Floyd, some kind of guy opposite Joey Bosa. Because you got to remember, a solid pass rush does elevate the play of your defensive backs because that quarterback out there is going to make more mistakes, right? You got Joey Bosa breaking free of that line with Leonard Floyd already on his way to you. You're going to toss that up to the first guy you think's open. Before you know it, a guy like Casey Hayward, Chris Harris Jr., Mike Davis could be in position to make a play. That pass rush is so important. But if Lattimore's there, the upside of playmaking from the perspective of the defensive backs goes way, way up. At this point, though, I don't think that Marshawn Lattimore is going to get traded. I think I've heard rumors that they want to extend him, which makes sense. All of the moves that the Saints are making so far this offseason looks to be an effort to re-signing Marshawn Lattimore and then a couple other guys I don't remember. So the likeliness of that happening went down. The likeliness of it happening, let's say 3 or 4 weeks ago, probably a little bit higher because of how deep they were in the crap hole as far as the cap space situation, but that's where we're at right now. That would be pretty cool, man. I think the biggest point I want to say with your comment there, Brandon, is that the Chargers do need to make a move at cornerback this season. I think it's pretty evident that we're at that spot right now. So we'll revisit that in a second. Matter of fact, we'll take a look at Casey Hayward here in just a minute. Couple more things here. Raptor says, Njoku is like John Ross, has potential, very high risk, low reward. Yeah, I see the same thing. Again, the contract obligation is low for what he provides or could provide. There's not a long-term commitment. We can create that for ourselves if things pan out really well with him, but again, it seems like the logical best case scenario for the Chargers if we do lose Hunter Henry, and we still keep ourselves open and taking Kyle Pitts at 13 if he does happen to fall to us. JB says, what do you think about Donald Parham? Kind of went over this in my video a couple days ago. Donald Parham, to me, there's a lot of fans out there, huge Parham believers, which honestly, and to a certain extent, so am I. Donald Parham, though, I saw when he came in from the XFL as more of a project. Like, it's going to take a couple seasons, but I do see a lot of potential, mainly because of his measurables and what our coaches or our coaching staff could do with a 6'8" tight end that honestly runs pretty fast for his size. You pair him up with a 6'6" quarterback, good things are going to happen, right? Last season, though, he only had 10 catches, so a very small sample size, but in that small sample size, we saw 159 yards and 3 touchdowns. Pretty impressive. So the upside of Parham does exist to me, 100%. But I also see him as being a very good tight end too, which I would feel more comfortable going into the season with him as, right? So I still do think the Chargers need another tight end, even if Parham is really, really good. Just have a plan in that area of attack. What's the next player that you want to Photoshop next? I really Photoshop jersey swaps very spontaneously. So if I'm really feeling something and I got a second, I mean, a jersey swap will take me about an hour and a half. Then I'll go sit on Photoshop and make something happen, but it'll be spontaneous. If I like come across an idea that I get really excited about, you could probably expect another one. Anthony Schwartz, best wide receiver in the draft, fastest, but he's not Jaylen Waddle. Oh my gosh. I want to reiterate this real quick before we continue. Jaylen Waddle is more than just a speed demon. Okay, that's why I love Jaylen Waddle so much. People think that, oh, he's going to be our go route guy or street guy. No, he's much more than that. He's a great route runner. He's got great hands. You know, the difference between, I think a lot of people are thinking of Jaylen Waddle as Mitchell Schwartz. Mitchell Schwartz is a great, wide receiver, the fastest in this draft, probably faster than Jaylen Waddle, I would imagine. But he needs a lot of work in other areas. I think his catching's okay. His route running needs a ton of work, his footwork and stuff like that. That's where Jaylen Waddle's different. You're getting a lot more out of Jaylen Waddle. And Jaylen Waddle with the Chargers, stretching the field, opening up everything underneath, go route touchdown potential from Justin Herbert. There's a lot to get excited about with Jaylen Waddle to the Chargers. What could be done about special teams? This is coming in from Combine. Excuse me. What can be done about special teams? I don't know if Badgley's doing it for me. The Saints game still haunts me too. A lot of games last season and the season before. I don't know the kicker they signed recently. What's his name? It's something Italian. I can't tell you the name. But we did sign somebody. That is a move in the right direction for me. All I wanted immediately was competition for Badgley. And right now we have it. Kicker is so hard to hit on, guys. You can draft a kicker in the 3rd, 4th round. It's still not a guarantee. Aguayo is probably the best example of that. Kind of just got to bring in a lot of guys, see who's performing the best, and hope they work out in the season. But I do agree, it needs some attention. Jaylen Waddle can do a lot. Yeah, he can. Jaylen Waddle's, and people are also worried about his injury. Last thing I'll say about Jaylen Waddle, his injury was a fracture or something like that, right? Like an ankle fracture. Something that I know that the chance of re-injury, like a kind of injury that would put the stamp of injury prone on a player, it's not that kind of injury. So don't worry too much about that. Matt Maroney, your director. What's up, Maine? What's up, Maine? Good to see you, dude. Good to see you. Haircut equal fleek status. Oh, thank you. I just been waiting all day for a compliment on the new cut. Yeah, we got that line in there too. Yeah. Can't cross the street without getting hollered at anymore. Yes, competition. Remember 2018 Badgley competition came in, won the job. We need to keep it competitive kicker. Yeah, I agree. 100% agree on that. Let's keep it moving, guys. I really love talking with you guys, though. I go off on tangents, but that's good. That makes it a fun stream. Let's go to Casey Hayward. I'm going to pull up Casey Hayward here, guys. I do want to talk. Actually, let's stick to this topic for a second, then we'll come back to the chat, okay? More moves that the Chargers can make to free up more and more cap space. So we already talked about Mike Williams. If we straight up cut him or trade him, that's $15 million back into the cap. A couple other guys that are in contention. We're just talking here, all right? Nobody freak. We're just talking as far as cap or as far as trade or cut situations. Casey Hayward's part of that. Casey Hayward at this point, if the Chargers decided to part ways with him, it would be a pre-June 1st release or trade. The Chargers would save $9.75 million with a dead cap of $2 million. I know Tom Telesco is super anal about his dead cap. The Chargers have the least dead cap in the entire league. I know that this number probably sways his decision a little bit. He doesn't want to see $2 million in dead cap. However, that being said, saving $9.75 million, a lot of people think Casey Hayward's on the decline. I still think he'd be okay. It's something you got to consider if you're going to be targeting another cornerback. I would say specifically in free agency. If you already have a plan of attack in the draft, like, yo, we're going after this or this guy who should be there at this or so pick, it's really difficult to say. But there have been rumors, $9.75 million. The next guy we're going to look up here. Let's see who's on my list. This one I don't agree with, but I'm going to say it anyway. This one I don't agree with, but it's been speculated. Linval Joseph. Now Linval Joseph, if we did cut him, that would be $4 million in dead cap, which again Tom Telesco would lose his mind. But $7.5 million in freed cap money and cap savings. What are we talking about there? Like $3.5 million then on the difference? Is that how it works? Not worth it to me. It does say potential out right here in 2021. So if we were going to do it, it would be this year. Honestly, I don't agree with it, though. If you guys watched any of my videos last season, we made all those moves, right? And all Chargers fans were creaming themselves like, oh my God, we got Casey or Chris Harris Jr. Awesome. We got Linval Joseph. Amazing. We got Trai Turner. We got Brian Bulaga. I went on a couple of podcasts, and the guys were asking me. I think this one was the Chargers Brawl. Those guys are awesome, by the way. I love their show. I might hit them up, try and go back and make a guest appearance there again. That's a lot of fun. That's a fun crowd. But they asked me, out of all the moves the Chargers have made this season, which one's your favorite? And straight up, I told them it was Linval Joseph. I said, you know what? Chris Harris is super exciting. Trai Turner's cool. Brian Bulaga has a lot of potential, but some injury concern. But Linval Joseph? The Chargers need so much help at defending the run. And Linval Joseph is that kind of guy. If there's like guys that are specifically good against, in pass rush, guys that are specifically good in run stuff, Linval Joseph is excellent against the run. And honestly, this season he looked pretty good in the pass rush too. He's huge. Breaking through the line and chasing down quarterbacks. He's huge. And he did it. I don't want to cut Linval Joseph. I'm not about that. It could be a savings of what, like $5 million or whatever. I don't know what the actual number is. I wouldn't do it. I would not cut Linval Joseph. The next guy that I wouldn't cut, more on the terms of what we're actually saving, is Chris Harris Jr. Chris Harris, let's take a look here. Potential out in 2021 once again. $3.75 million in dead cap, $7.5 million in savings. You guys split the difference there. I still think Chris Harris is a pretty serviceable slot cornerback, so I would say keep him. And we got the 1 year left. That's a lot of dead cap. I would say go ahead and keep him. Between the two cornerbacks at this point that I would say is more likely to get cut, it's probably going to be Casey Hayward. Because he's viewed as our number one. He had a real tough time keeping up, especially in deep coverage last season. If we do make a cut at cornerback, I think it's going to be Casey. And I think we're going to have to do something drastic about it. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the free agents real quick. Let's do available. Let's do cornerback. This one's pretty big. Now, before we actually do that, let me see. What are the numbers here? Let's say the Chargers cut, let me pull up my calculator real quick. We already cut Linval Joseph. Let's say we cut Casey Hayward, right? So that would be 41.44 plus 9.75. And in this scenario, let's say that the Chargers extend Mike Williams to a $9 or $10 million contract. Let's say $10 million just to be safe. $10 million annually contract. So let's go ahead and add another 10. Just to be safe. It could be less. It could be less. That would put the Chargers cap space at $61.19 million, with really the only hole we've created for ourselves is cornerback one. Okay? Allen's not getting cut. Stop it. No, Allen's not getting cut. Nobody say that. That's bad juju. Haha. Juju. Anyway. Cornerback. When it comes to Casey Hayward, there's a couple ways you can look about this, okay? You can bring in an older guy that's probably, like, better. Some people see Richard Sherman as that. Some people say Richard Sherman could come in here, do what Casey Hayward did. Even though he's a little bit older and he costs about the same as we'd be saving, he might be better for the Chargers than Casey Hayward. I'm not quite sure how much I agree with that, but that's what's been floating around. Then there's other younger prospects. Justin Coleman just got cut. Janoris Jenkins. There is one guy that we haven't talked much about that I do want to highlight. I mean, if we can get William Jackson, I'd be super happy. Quentin Dunbar's not bad either. Where is he? Let me see if I can actually just search it. There's so many. Let me search it real quick, and then we'll grab the super chat. What was his name? Shoot, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, yeah. Shaquille Griffin. This is a guy here that's been kind of asked about a little bit. Shaquille Griffin. He's only 25 years old. $11 million, so he'd be paid total, salary less than Casey Hayward. Much younger. Maybe he had a bit of a down season last year, but we've seen his potential. He might fit very well in with the Chargers. What do you guys think about Shaquille Griffin? Give me lightning bolts in the chat if you'd be down for Shaquille Griffin while I read this super chat. Let me know what you guys think. That's one option. Gabriel says Mike Williams just unfollowed the Chargers and is in Houston. Now, thank you for the $5 holler, Gabriel. In terms of unfollowed the Chargers, if you're talking about Instagram, I've been told at least that he was never following the Chargers. If he's in Houston right now, though, that's a different story. Maybe the Texans are looking for another wide receiver, which they definitely should be. But I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to put that on Mike Williams going to the Texans. That is a garbage organization. I'm seeing some bolts on here. Some guys want a Wouzier. That's not a bad option either. I'd be down for Shaq Griffin. Okay. Why not Jason Verrett? Jason Verrett, I like the potential of him if he stays healthy, but that's still the same problem that we had when he was on the Chargers before. Does he stay healthy? I don't know. He would be cheaper. He's over 30 years old, but he's faster for his age. That one's so tough, man. I'd love to see him back, but I think the Chargers will make a better move somewhere else. Michael Davis contract extension. That's likely going to be in the realm of $5 to $6 million annually for about 3 or 4 years. $2 holla. If he's the one with two hands, then yes. Yes, he is. His brother Shaquille Griffin is the one that got into the league despite his disability playing with the Seahawks. They played together with his brother there. Yeah, keep Michael Davis. Yeah, keep Michael Davis. Sante Samuel Jr. is my number one target at corner if we cut Casey Hayward. Now that's interesting. What if the Chargers take him with the 13th pick? What if the Chargers take at 13 Caleb Farley or Patrick Surtain or even J.C. Horn? How you guys feeling about that? I like it. It would really depend on who we're passing up on. And in most scenarios I've been seeing so far, most of the corners, at least the ones that are worth taking at 13, are gone. But that does shift things up a little bit. Bring Shaquille in too. Yeah, that would be cool. The Chargers just cut Casey. Nah, stop. Stop with that. Just going to check Twitter real quick here, guys. Just going to check Twitter here real quick. Stop with that. No one's doing nothing. We got our news for the day. Anyway. $44.1 million. Okay, the last couple of things I had on here, because it's going to be a shorter stream. We've already been on for about 45 minutes. Keep in mind some of the things. Okay, so $41.44 million. Keep in mind that we do have other financial obligations outside of free agency. Okay, I read somewhere that the Chargers would need about $10 million to dedicate towards the rookies. So you can almost say that 41 goes down to 31, which is still pretty good this season specifically. And then the practice squad would take about $1.2 million, plus depth would be TBD. It would be, to be determined depending on what we pick up. I think we can get a lot of it in the draft. Our needs: offensive line, cornerback, edge, tight end, linebacker, wide receiver. That being said, free agents that I still go after, like priority number one for me. Priority number one for me is Corey Linsley. Okay? I think when you start a rebuild of an offensive line, bringing in a experienced, quality, best center in the league last season is a no-brainer to me. Then you can start opening up your options as far as, do you want to assign Tooney as well? Alejandro Villanueva is maybe an option. Trent Williams may be an option. I honestly just want to tackle in the draft. Whether it be first or second round, I want to tackle in the draft. And we could go the route in the second round of Dylan Raduns, Alex Leatherwood. There's some options out there. Or the Chargers could trade back into the first round like we did last year. If we see a guy like Dylan Raduns and we're not confident he'll be there at the second round, I wouldn't mind trading back down and getting, because we have 2 third-round picks this season too. We're going to keep Chris Harris Jr. and Casey Hayward both in their final years of the contract. I think it's more likely that happens, Francesco, but I'm saying if one of the two does get cut, it's probably Casey Hayward due to his contract. Okay? But outside those offensive line moves, so let's say the Chargers are already committed to doing one offensive lineman in the draft, at least like a high quality pick in the top 3 rounds. And let's say Corey Linsley. That still leaves us with Brian Bulaga, who could have a backup, breakback season, comeback season. Guard would be a little bit of a concern. I would still go after a guy like Austin Blythe for the guard position at right guard, and then maybe re-sign one of our guys as far as Dan Feeney for left guard. And I would feel a lot better about the offensive line there. Outside of that, outside of offensive line, which I think it's unspoken at this point, the unspoken truth, it's happening, okay? The Chargers are going to sign a veteran offensive lineman. I'm hoping it's Corey Linsley. Outside of offensive line, because we can expect that to happen, choose one name, guys. Choose one name, because the Chargers have money to spend. Think about it in terms of how much money we're dedicating to this guy, what other needs that we need or whatever. Choose one other free agent that you'd want the Chargers to go after. Just put one in the chat right now. I'll read a few of them. Okay? Outside of offensive line, choose one guy that's not an offensive lineman. Okay? I'm seeing John Johnson, Juju, Curtis Samuel, who we haven't talked a lot about, Jamal Williams, Chris Carson. You guys want some running backs. Leonard Floyd, Ross, Johnson. Okay. Why can't we get Poole or Bouye? Poole is more of a slot corner. I think would be in the same position as we were with Desmond King and Chris Harris Jr. this year. Okay. I'm seeing Clowney, Galladay, Marlon Mack, safety from the Rams, who's John Johnson, Nick Bosa. Let's just throw it all down for Nick Bosa. Get the Bosa brothers in here. Yannick Ngakoue. That's one I don't see a lot. That's a good one. Aaron Jones. Julio. Not on the block, but it would be interesting. Stephon Gilmore via trade. Okay, I'm gonna point out a couple you guys are putting down here, okay? And again, it's kind of redundant, but it comes down to 2 guys for me. That's John Johnson and Leonard Floyd. I don't know who I want more. Leonard Floyd, again, helps that secondary out a lot, but John Johnson's the kind of safety that, again, you play closer to the line of scrimmage, so it helps that run defense a lot. Is it too much to ask for both? Let's just get both. We go offensive line heavy in the free agency, and then the 2 guys I want, John Johnson and Leonard Floyd, I would be super happy. Yeah, Concom, why not both? Let's just go both, bro. I don't know how much cap we would have after that, but I can see the Chargers being able to do that. Bring in Corey Linsley, Austin Blythe, offensive line, and then we focus on some picks in the draft for the tackle position, and then we dedicate a lot of money to Leonard Floyd, John Johnson. How would you guys feel about that? If we had like 4 big signings this year and those were the guys. Maybe 3 big signings plus Austin Blythe. How would you guys feel about that? I'd feel really good about that. I'd feel super good about that. And then the lower tier signings like John Ross and maybe a tight end. Like, again, even a low tier signing would be Njoku for me because he's not especially expensive. Kyle Van Noy would be a low tier signing too. I don't think he's that expensive either. Bud Dupree is a good one too. You got to consider him. Isn't those 2 no-brainer? Everyone already saying this. Yeah. I'm saying that. I'm reiterating that. The point is that we have $41.44 million to work with now. But I think a lot of people do get hung up on getting a free agent as far as offensive line. The fact of the matter is, I think that's happening. I think it's almost locked and loaded. We're going to get an offensive lineman. But what after that? Who would you prioritize more, Johnson or Floyd? For me, I think it's Floyd. Honestly, John Johnson's so huge. John Johnson's a massive add to this team. But we've got $100 million invested in Joey Bosa, and he's getting double-teamed every game. To free that up, great investment from a financial and game standpoint. So let's read some of these comments, guys. Let's see, where are we at right now? We're about 49 minutes on the stream. I want to wrap it up at an hour. We got some stuff to get done today. I just want to get on here and get excited about you guys. We got ourselves some cap space to work with. Let's answer some questions here for the next 5-10 minutes, okay? So if you guys got a question for me, drop it in the comments section before we start winding down here. Look at bro, Joey Bosa has earned Leonard Floyd. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, for sure. Free him up. But Dupree would be nice. He would be good. I see more high upside on Leonard Floyd for sure, but he's going to be the top tier pass rusher for a reason. What about Thomas Morstead? What do you think of our current punter? Punting, it could improve. Everything about special teams could improve, but I'm not paying a top tier punter at this point. I'm bringing in competition, same way that they're doing with the kicker at this point. $2 holla. What if we get a backup quarterback in round 5 or 6? I'd be okay with that. I'm not ready to give up on Easton Stick though, because you got to remember all these improvements that we're making for Justin Herbert. If need be, there are also improvements being made for Easton Stick. Behind a pretty good offensive line, a strong running attack, and great weapons, I'm still confident in Easton Stick, but I wouldn't hate it. Raging Bolt says, let's trade for Tom Brady to be our backup to Herbert, just to stick it. It's Uchenna Nwosu season. Chloe Sanchez, that's such a good point. That's one that I need to get better at pushing into the forefront here, okay? Leonard Floyd. What does he offer to this team? Okay, so all of a sudden you're looking at, as far as your pass rushing, your defensive ends, your defensive tackles. Let's go from one side to the other. If we get Leonard Floyd on this side, it would probably be Jerry Tillery, Linval Joseph, Joey Bosa, and then Uchenna Nwosu at the outside linebacker on the other side. Uchenna Nwosu, you guys remember that game, playoffs versus the Ravens? Uchenna Nwosu was the one that slapped that out of Lamar Jackson's hand, sealed the game for us there. Amazing. So much potential. I think he's already proven a lot as a pass rusher. We have at least one rushing outside linebacker. We need another one. Okay? And then the way that Staley utilizes his blitzes, designs his blitzes, disguises things, that unit would be really, really tough to defend against. It'd be really hard to block those guys. So, yeah, don't forget Uchenna Nwosu. I may actually do a whole video about that because of how big of an impact he could be this season. Bolt Up Gem says, do you trust Toomey T after some dumps he's taken in free agency? So you're saying Tom Telesco taken in free agency and draft picks. 2019 is a total bust save tranquil. Depends on how Jerry Tillery pans out, right? Maybe he's better in this scheme or whatever, but I still trust Tom Telesco, man. I mean, the grass is always greener, right? What if we had the Texans GM? We'd be begging for Tom. I'm still willing to ride with Tom Telesco for sure. Let's talk Curtis Samuel. How do you feel about Samuel being our slot receiver? I like it. He's fast. He's proven. Let me see how much he'd be worth. Curtis Samuel. Let's see how much this guy would be going for. It has to make sense. Wide receiver, as far as cap, you'd have to really convince me to spend a lot in that position. Curtis Samuel, that's too much, man. I like him, but not for that price. 12.4. I'm more comfortable with $8 million and lower at this point. At this point for me, I want to put as much money into the offensive line, into the defensive line, pass rush as well. And then if I'm getting a wide receiver, I'd like a budget guy with high upside like John Ross. If there's other speedsters out there, I just see John Ross as a great, underutilized guy, good talent. I think he was good in a lot of spots with the Bengals. He just got banged up a little bit. He didn't have a quarterback with a big enough arm to utilize his speed. So between the two, if I can get John Ross for $4 million or Curtis Samuel for 12.4, I'm taking Ross every single time. A couple more questions here, guys. Andres Valdez says, Mike Evans or Odell Beckham Jr. to the Chargers. If I could choose one, I love Mike Evans so much. I really do. If we had to get rid of Mike Williams, Mike Evans, I would be so happy to see. But Odell would be great too. Connor says, just join. Not sure if you've mentioned him. What about Shaq Griffin? Yeah, we went over him in a minute ago. I think he'd be a good option if we have to get rid of Casey Hayward. Should we sign Zach Ertz? Says Tyler Arnold. I'm not about it. I just think if we have to give up any draft capital above a 5th round pick, it's not worth it to me. And he's already owed so much money. I'm not about it. I would rather trade for younger guys like OJ Howard or Njoku. That's kind of where I'm at right there. What are your thoughts on the running back core? We can add an extra power back to help Austin Eckler, but I still want Eckler to be the focal point of this offense. Guys, Eckler, I'm not even kidding. Eckler could be a top 5 yards from scrimmage guy this season. I'm not even kidding. I want to feature him. But if getting him a power back helps, then I'm about that. $2 holla coming in from the reason, since Derwin is injury prone, would it be smart to trade him? I get where you're coming at. I think Chargers fans have a little bit of PTSD from Jason Verrett a little bit, right? But Derwin is the kind of player that when he's healthy and on the field, he takes our defense from, let's say we're a top 10 defense, to like a top 8 defense. He makes a big difference on his own. Yes, there's a chance he gets injured again, but he's so good that you take the chance and you don't even think about it. You extend him, you pay him all the money, you hope it works out because of how big of an impact he is for this team. $5 holla coming in from Theory again says, what is the cap savings for the aging Casey Hayward? Could we target a cornerback from Georgia with a 4.25 speed? Talking about Eric Stokes. First off, guys, just heed this warning just a little bit. The 40 times this year are going to be bad, not too reliable, because everything's being done on pro days, different turf, different, timing, everything's different. So 4.25 Eric Stokes is exciting. I still like Eric Stokes. I think he's still very fast and very good, but 4.25 is probably not what he would really run at the combine, but still exciting. Now, as far as cap savings on Casey Hayward, we would save $9.75 million. That would allow us to target guys like Shaq Griffin, Patrick Peterson. But if we supplement that with a corner from the draft, I would hope it would be Asante Samuel in the second round. That's where I'm at. Thank you, Theory, for the $5 holla. $2 holla come from it. Christian Hernandez says, why not add Van Noy for linebacker depth and leadership? I love the thought of Van Noy at this point because it reminds me of what the Chargers did last season with Nick Vigil. You guys remember that? Nick Vigil came in. I was like, that dude was pretty good with Cincinnati as far as their linebackers. And it turns out the Chargers brought him in as depth. I could see a similar story adding up for Van Noy, definitely. He comes in because the Chargers at this point, we're looking for outside linebackers that can line up at edge, that can pass rush, right? As far as inside linebackers, we still have Kenneth Murray, who honestly, Brandon Staley's already said that he's going to be an inside linebacker. I would put him outside sometimes too and let him, blitz the quarterback. But as far as inside linebacker right now, we have Kenneth Murray and Drew Tranquil. Those kind of guys in a 3-4 scheme, you want them to be good against the run. You want them to be good, pretty decent in pass coverage. And we have those guys. If we brought in Van Noy as far as depth and something happens, it would remind me a lot of the Nick Vigil move we did this season. And honestly, I wouldn't hate it. We needed that move more than we thought last season. That's another example of Tom Telesco, Coupon Tom, coming in clutch with a signing that we needed more than even us, the fans, realized. Hugo says Derwin James when healthy is another Sean Taylor. Amen. Amen. Jeremy Tyser says, thanks, director. Your all-around knowledge is addictive. Can't wait for the next video. Thank you, man. You guys are awesome. I love this channel. I love this community. Every day I get on, some days I wake up, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? Nothing's going on. And then I go look at my comments, and you guys are so passionate. You guys are always giving me things. You're always keeping my engine running. Is that how you say it? Ooh, is that dirty? I don't know. You guys are always keeping me thinking about the Chargers. And I love that I've surrounded myself with so many diehards in this group. What do you think we'd have to give up if we wanted to get Sewell? Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. I hate that Sewell is in this draft class, because if the Chargers want to trade up, the biggest problem is we'd have to outbid another team that wants a quarterback. If the Chargers want Sewell, we have to trade with the Falcons minimal, right? And the Falcons are going to want Justin Fields. The Falcons are going to want Zach Wilson. Whoever's not drafted at 2 or 3, they're going to want, okay? So in reality, we're not paying to trade up for a tackle. We'd be trading up the value we'd be trading up for would be quarterback level. So I don't know if it's possible. If we do, there's likely a first round next year, this year, a couple of mid-round picks this season too. I mean, the top 5 is very expensive, so it would be a lot. If we did it, I'd be really excited because of how different Penei Sewell is. He played with Justin Herbert already, but how realistic it is this year because of the quarterback situation, I don't know. But thank you for the holler there, my man. Appreciate it. That's a really, really good question. Rich E says we need to trade Herbert for Nathan Peterman. I hope that's a jab at the trade rumors going around. The Chargers would be willing to part ways with Justin Herbert for Deshaun Watson. No, Who says no? We all say no. No. Never, ever, ever, ever. I mean, because again, I think right now, Deshaun Watson's probably better than Justin Herbert. By however much, it's kind of for your guys' own interpretation. But as far as dollar value for what you're getting from your quarterback, there is no better quarterback in the league right now. It is Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow. It would be closer if Burrow didn't have the injury concern, but he did get injured. Justin Herbert right now, 4 years in a rookie contract with elite quarterback play. That is so much more valuable than Deshaun Watson. I would take Justin Herbert over Deshaun Watson any day of the week. Thanks for the $5 holla, man. $2 holla from Bolt Fam says, still wish we would have taken Metcalf over Adderley. I know, man. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. But this is the way the chips fell. And honestly, we all wanted Adderley, right? Some guys were saying Adderley in the first round, which I don't know if it would have made a huge difference. Jared Tillery is meh, okay. Yeah, that wasn't the best draft. 2019 is not a year to remember for the Chargers. Last couple questions, guys. What about Von Miller? I'd be okay with Von Miller if he's cheap, which he could be because of injury and age. And that's only if we can't afford Leonard Floyd. That's where I'm at. But Von Miller, you line him up next to Joey Bosa? Oh, just imagine being a quarterback on the other side of that. Yeah, there's no way. I would be really excited if Von Miller came with the Chargers. Christian Hernandez says, D tackle depth. What if Joseph or Tillery get hurt? Ooh, okay, I like this one. Defensive tackle, Chargers moving to 3-4. We're looking for more of a nose tackle guy that's really good against the run, right? There are a few defensive tackles in this draft that I see as the future for the Chargers at nose tackle. Tyler Shelvin is a huge, monstrous human being that we can get maybe in the 3rd or 4th round. Aleem McNeil, he's climbing boards a lot recently, but he'd be a great candidate. There's so many really good defensive tackles, I would say nose tackles in this draft that you can get in middle rounds that I would expect and hope that the Chargers address that position as far as depth and then future starter in the draft this season. So that's a great question. Thank you, Christian. Rich E says J.K. Herbert's a go. Yes, sir. I know. I can feel you, man. I'm catching your vibes all the way out here. I understood exactly what you were doing with that $5 holla. It was received. It was thankful for. I understand. It got us on the tangent of the Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert train too. So that's a good day. It's a good day. Dyson Wutsky with the $2 holla. Thank you so much. Couple more guys, and then we got to go. Hugo says, would you be okay if we took Micah Parsons with the 13th pick, trade up from the second back into the second for Elijah Vera Tucker? Yeah, I'd be okay with that. It's hard because Micah Parsons is more of an outside linebacker. That is what he is. And linebacker right now, there's kind of this cap as far as their value on a team, the way they're utilized. Unless they're like a Levante David, it's really tough to like justify taking a guy that high. But I think Micah Parsons different enough where I'm cool with it. You know, again, it's going to be really hard for the Chargers to miss at 13. It's going to be really hard for the Chargers not to get this right. At least not to get someone with the potential to hit because of how much talent there is. If it's Micah Parsons, if it's Patrick Surtain, Caleb Farley, Jaylen Waddle, Christian Darrisaw, Rashawn Slater, it's going to be really hard to disappoint me this year, guys. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be really tough to disappoint me. If we pass on Kyle Pitts, I'm going to be a little PO'd. Other than that, it's going to be really, really, really tough. Shelby Harris, underrated. That'd be a great signing. Would you be okay? Yeah, we already answered that. What about Marvin Wilson to replace Linval Joseph? Marvin Wilson's more of a 4-3 defensive tackle, but he'd be all right. He'd be pretty good. I'm just worried that we're going to find another situation where we need a Linval Joseph and we have a Jerry Tillery. Jerry Tillery's pretty good in the pass rushing from the defensive tackle position, but we needed someone to help stop the run. So I'm hoping that whoever we choose is good specifically for that. Do you think Chargers organization watch your videos? I hope not. They probably think I'm a crazy person. I'm a fan, dudes. I'm not even an NFL analyst. You know, I'm not a professional like sports. Like I have no like history or education as far as sports anything. I'm just a diehard Chargers fan that happened to be a filmmaker, so I got the whole setup and everything. I'm learning every single day. I'm on the job. I'm understanding more and where to look and big takes and stuff like that. But there's by no means am I a professional. So I'm sure the guys at Chargers HC are like, look at this director guy go again. He thinks we're getting Jalen Ramsey. What a nut. That's great. $5 hub from Mike Smith says, looking at 3-4 outside linebacker, Joe Tryon looks pretty solid. Yeah, he looks great out of Washington. Coverage, pass rush, second or third round pick. I love him. Joe Tryon and Osai, who's the guy out of Texas? That guy too, man. Oh, I love him. Good in coverage as well. And Tryon, man, he's starting to look more like, I've seen him in the third round a lot in previous weeks. Lately, it's second round. If Chargers go second round, Tryon, I'm okay with it. But edge, pass rush, this is where I really hope the Chargers attack in free agency. The potential of Tryon's pretty huge. The potential of Joseph Asai and all those guys are pretty huge, but I want something proven that works now. And I think the chemistry and the recent success of Staley with Leonard Floyd, now he's got Bosa, he's got all the pieces to really, help create something similar to what he had in Los Angeles with the Rams. I want to go after that. Like, I'm aggressive. This is the time to be aggressive. This will be one of the last things I say before we sign off here, guys. We've gone over a little bit. One of the last things I'll say before we sign off. This is the time to be aggressive, okay? This is the time for the Chargers to throw the chips down. In the next, 3 to 4 years before the Chargers have to pay Justin Herbert, we have a window to grab quality free agents. No more is it, we'll settle for this guy, we'll settle for that guy. Now we're eyeing guys. We want the best edge defender, the edge pass rusher. As far as a 3-4 scheme in free agency this year, let's grab him. And his name is Leonard Floyd, right? We want one of the best safeties in the league to pair up with Derwin James. His name's John Johnson III. Let's go after him. We have flexibility. And what's crazy is that the Chargers have even more money to spend next, like a ridiculously amount higher to spend next season. Last thing I'll show you guys. Los Angeles Chargers. Let's change from the 2021 to the 2022. Let's update that. The only two players the Chargers need to resign next season, I'm not going to show it here, that are like big name players are Uchenna Nwosu and Derwin James. You know how much left we got to work with? $140 million, bros. $140 million. Now that's going to go down as we sign people this year, because I do fully expect us to backload a lot of these contracts. We are going to have a stupid amount of money to work with starting next year to the end of Justin Herbert's rookie contract. A stupid amount of money. This is the first year where I'm looking at the Chargers like, be aggressive. The big moves, the hot takes, nah, those are the takes now. Go grab a championship. Go grab that ring. You got a 3, 4, 5 year window to make this happen. We found a unicorn at quarterback. Not very many teams, as a matter of fact, no team in the history of the NFL has hit the way we hit with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's the best rookie quarterback of all time. Statistically, from an analytical standpoint, he's the best rookie quarterback ever. If there was ever a time to throw your chips down and go all in, it starts this season, and it goes through the rest of Herbert's rookie contract. Carted Out says, what happens to Tyrod Taylor? I think the last thing I heard was he might be going to Detroit. Last thing I heard. I don't think he's not on contract with the team anymore. That was his last season. It's time to make a run. It's time to make a run. How many teams ever in the history of the NFL have had the opportunity to do this? The best rookie quarterback ever, money to spend, brand new stadium, loaded roster. We've got talent that's on a contract in Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. We got talent on contract for several seasons. We are ready now. It's time to move now. Open that checkbook. Get all the reinforcements we can afford to bring in the next 2 to 3 years. We're making a run. It's time to make a run. Don't sit on your hands. Don't be conservative. Now is the time to bring out the big guns. That's what I'm going to end on today, guys. Clip that chat, send it to Chargers. Chargers to have a ring in the next 3 years. Amen. If we don't have a ring in the next 3 years, we did it wrong. Plain and simple. We don't have a ring in the next 3 years, we did it wrong. Kelly Country, thank you so much for rejoining the crew, man. Appreciate it. And everybody, guys, thank you so much. We're wrapping it up now. Thank you so much, everybody, for all the super chats today. You guys are supporting this channel more than you know. We're getting into the dry season. After the free agency and after the draft, things are going to wind down a little bit here on the channel. Not as far as the content, but, you know, not much is going on in Chargers football. It's going to get a little bit sad as far as people here. So you guys here supporting the channel now, I do expect to see a lot of you guys back, you know, in the summer. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of Chargers theory, lots of Chargers breakdowns, opponents, things like that. We're here, man. We're here representing the Chargers best we can. Just as a Chargers fan to other Chargers fans, that's what I kind of like to think about it in my head. I'm a Chargers fan making a Chargers fan page for the Chargers fan. And I really do like the perspective it's given me as far as, like, I didn't go to school for sportscasting, analytics, or anything like that. I just see the surface of it, and I'm growing and I'm learning what to look for. You know, every day I do a video, but it really does allow me to remain open-minded. And I think, especially right now, the Chargers need to become more open-minded, more aggressive. So, again, guys, thank you so much, everybody, for all your support in today's stream. It was an awesome time. Big blast. The Chargers have more money to spend with Trey Turner being cut, and I don't think it's the last one we're going to see, guys. Thank you so much. Bolt fan with a $2 holla. Our team deserves a max contract. Yes, sir. Team Doctor. That's pretty savage. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.
Stay frosty and head over to EasyMut.com for the cheapest MUT coins on the market. And when I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around $40. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Action!